welcome back to Inside the Therapy Room, Unpacking Mental Health. We have had a nice long break from this for a little bit, which I think is really good and refreshing for both of us. And we both come back with like some more ideas and like wanting to dive a little deeper than usual and understanding what we actually want out of this. So it's a positive thing for you guys. Of course,
Absolutely.
if you've never been here before, my name is Adriana. And I am here with my great friend who is also a therapist, Jewel. Um,
I
And so today we are going to be talking about intimacy and long-term relationships. I want to kind of go through like what does it actually look like? What does it actually sound like? Like what questions should you be asking yourselves and each other as we go through what is emotional and physical and financial and spiritual and intellectual intimacy and how those things like bring about connection for you and your spouse.
sounds great.
So, Jill, what do you think? What do you call intimacy?
I equate intimacy very closely with vulnerability. So I believe that
Mhm.
intimacy and vulnerability are very much on the same wavelength. So I think that that varies, like vulnerability varies for every individual. So it's kind of what's my level of intimacy with my husband, maybe not as like intimate as other relationships, or it could be more, but that's just based on our level of vulnerability as individuals, in my opinion. What about yours?
No, I think the same thing, and I think also it like ebbs and flows over your relationship, but it can get lost also. Your ability, comfortability, you know what I mean? Like the willingness to even want to be vulnerable in that way increases and decreases across a relationship. And so in long-term relationships, it's really hard. In short term, for the short term, and short term is different for everybody, but like most people are pretty cool. Like everything's like chugging along pretty okay. Everyone's pretty happy. But once you start going into longer term relationships, it can kind of get a little messy because life starts happening a lot more.
That is really true. I think I got really lucky the second time around with my husband because I am one of those people that's like I really like a structure that feels comfortable and supportive. So once I find that space, I kind of want to live and hover in it. But my husband's really good at keeping I would say intimacy, keeping it very alive in our relationship. And I mean things like he is always very cognizant of, what do I, his wife, need as opposed to only thinking about himself. And I think that is where we can get kind of really, I know I can get very reliant on, well, he's good. We're together. That's
Yeah.
what, and
Mhm.
but he's always so intentional about making an effort that it makes me aware of also making an effort. Like we've been together for 9 years and it just doesn't feel that long. Like, it still feels like we are dating because he intentionally makes it feel like we are dating.
Yeah, that's so cute. But I also see that when I hang out with you and then he comes in, or I hang out with both of you together. So
Right? Like, he's so intentional. It's a gift, and I am very thankful for that all the time, but in full transparency and honesty, I am not that good. So if he wasn't leading with that, we would probably be in that pitfall that I see a lot of long-term relationships being
Mhm.
in.
Yeah. I think it's just really easy to forget that intimacy isn't just sex,
Yes.
on both sides of the fence.
Yes.
So emotional intimacy is really important. It's that sense of safety and closeness and connection. It's feeling like you can share your innermost feelings and they'll be validated and respected by the other person and listened to, and
Oh my
they are
gosh, yeah.
like seeking to understand you. Emotional intimacy really tries to like dig deep.
It does, and wants to know. It doesn't assume. Like, intimacy
Mhm.
never assumes, it's always we talk about the 3 so sorry you're gonna have to deal with me on this, but I just have been so immersed in IFS training this week that you're gonna hear a lot of IFS talk, and so sorry. But we think about those, like, 8 C's of understanding the
Mhm.
self, right? One of those is curiosity, calmness,
Mhm.
compassion. Well, 3 of those. And the thinking about that as, like, showing up in our relationships, that is intimacy as well, right? Being curious, being
Mhm.
compassionate, being calm, not thinking that this one person is out to get you all the time, and so when something happens, they missay something, they misstep somewhere, It's being curious about it, that's intimacy, right? That's what you're I know that's what you're saying, I'm going the long way around it, but I just intimacy is it's not easy, and it's
Uh-huh.
intent and
And it's also like we need to be able to actually understand and feel like we can be ourselves without being judged or losing the relationship and be
oh, yes.
authentic to who we really truly are. And I feel like that's kind of what starts getting a little bit lost in long-term relationships is the ability to like feel seen, feel heard, feel needed, feel accepted, feel like you are being considered fully. Like your needs are also important, and we are trying to figure out how to get both of our needs met, not just one or the other.
Mhm. And then not to mention how, it depends on how long you've been together. If you started dating someone in high school and you're married to them now and you're 40, think about the very different people you have been multiple times
Mhm.
throughout those years. And then the different roles that you're putting on. You're changing from high
Mhm.
school student to college student to entrepreneur
Mom,
or
dad.
employee, mom, dad. And then as you get into like
Mhm.
your own middle age, then you have, like, your caretaking aged parents, like, as well as supporting adult children, like, there's so many things so many different roles that you acquire throughout your life that it's so important to be curious about your partner and who they are in them because you that is not the same human that you met and married.
Not at all. And this evolution that's growing, it should be happening with both people. I know typically women tend to have to do it more because I think the adjustment, the growing of like raising kids forces them to.
Yes,
Um, and some men, if you're the guy who's like stay-at-home dad or whatever, like you are now forced into this position where you're having to grow very quickly and also adapt and adjust. And your wife might be the one who is a little bit like not on the same page. And
sure.
so it is this thing that you actually have to strive for and talk about and make time for. Um, I find that a lot of couples, a lot of people struggle to just make time for their spouses when they have busy
Yes,
lives. And I'm just like,
yes.
hey, when can we pencil this in for you? Go talk
Yeah.
to your spouse.
I think about that, like, I think about how we are in a marriage, you are essentially building intimacy is so important, but you're also
Mhm,
building a whole empire together. And I think about
mhm,
how could I build an empire with someone as like a co-leader,
mhm,
and only see them 10 minutes a day, and in that time, never talk to them about anything other than a schedule, right? And that's we see that.
mhm,
And then it's because everything's either focused on kids or, a lot of people when they get a minute without children, they're like, "I'm gonna go see my friends." Like, no,
mhm,
friendships are so important, but most important is this key relationship that you are
mhm.
literally building your life with.
Yeah. And if when you keep that alive, that is what keeps a relationship alive.
Yes.
Is you never lose sight of wanting to know more about your partner and what they want out of life and their ideas. And it's not just, hey, what'd you do at work today? And then listening to the same boring stuff. It's I know you said your boss was doing that thing. Did you talk to him about it yet? Well, you haven't.
Yes.
What's preventing you from like what's holding you back from addressing that issue, maybe?
This is making me so happy right now. Oh, yes,
We don't
yes.
want you to be each other's therapist, but we do want you to be curious about like what is holding you back from accomplishing goals or like reducing your stress.
Mhm.
Like what's the
Yeah,
barrier?
yeah. And I'm literally like, as you're talking, I'm thinking like through the decades, when we started
Mhm,
this whole thing of like wedded bliss, right? Like it was
mhm,
about having that business together. And then it became like, like, I don't know when we started encouraging the lack of evolvement from dating to
mhm,
marriage. Like I
mhm,
see so many I see so many people who engage with their marriage the way they would engage with an adolescent relationship where it's like
mhm.
there is no reverence for one another, there is no curiosity for one another, and instead it's you hurt my feelings that one time, and so now I'm really mad at you, and I'm going to keep finding evidence to continue to stay mad at you. And I'm like,
Mhm.
when did we start this? Like, and as a culture, as a society, like it feels like an 80s thing, but but I don't know. It's like, when did we really like, was it when we started encouraging divorce? Like, what the heck happened?
I think that people saw what their parents had and they didn't want that, but they also didn't have they didn't have anything else like
No,
something
no
to reference,
blueprint.
right? It was like, well, if I don't want what my parents have, how do I get something else? And
Yeah.
because you don't know, because you've never seen anything else, you just kind of wing it. But winging it gets it wrong. So
It really does. It really does, and it's a
Mhm.
shame.
Yeah. Like, I really, I know that, like, I feel like what happened, let me back up. I remember being in elementary school and a lot of my friends' parents were getting divorced, right? Or already divorced and getting remarried when in elementary school. And so a lot of kids grew up with that, at least in the millennial generation, right? They saw this or they saw their parents being resentful of each other because of whatever happened in the marriage or
Mhm.
having affairs and things like that. And they're like, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
I don't want that. But like I said, then you don't have a picture of what you never like stop to consider what you do want. You just knew what you didn't.
Yeah, and then you overcorrect.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So it is hard. It's not something that's super easy. It is something that you get wrong a lot, but the point is that you keep trying and like wanting to try.
That. The want has to be
Mhm.
there. It's more about wanting to try and wanting to trust and wanting to stay engaged and wanting to be intimate as opposed to wanting to be right.
Yeah, truly. Put your ego aside for
Mhm.
a second, please.
Please. This is the one place that just these
Mhm.
relationships with your family, your spouse, your life partner, or however you choose to view a family. I'm not saying there has to be
Mhm.
one way, but these relationships are so important. We can't. This is why we see so many adult children not engaging with parents.
Mhm.
It's just too much. It's not about ego. These relationships are not about ego.
I think, yeah, and society has kind of made us go in that direction a little bit, but we
Hmm.
don't have to stay there. We can definitely get out of that. On that note, I want to move to physical intimacy really quickly because I think that this is like a huge one, right? Like, you say physical intimacy, and a lot of people are like sex. And I'm like, no. Like, that might be part of it for you and your partner, but that's not all of it. But also, if other forms of intimacy are not maintained, that is not going to be something that actually fulfills you.
Right.
So, it doesn't just mean sex, it means hugs, it means holding hands, it means kissing. It means respecting each other's boundaries, understanding consent, right? If I say no because I don't feel good or I feel gross and you don't care, that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. That means, hey, I don't feel like it personally. My needs need to be met in other ways for me to feel better, to be there and be able to be there with you.
Think that we need to offer men a different way to ask for the intimacy that they're looking for, right? What I keep seeing is men blaming
Mhm,
their partners for the lack of intimacy that they're feeling, right? Like,
mhm,
I'm so upset with our sex life. I don't
uh-huh,
understand why you don't want me. This is I we don't have sex as much as I want, and this is just
mhm,
I can't understand how you can even be in a relationship like this. Like, it's just not fair. Guys, we are actually just as sexual of beings as you are.
mhm.
Right. But there's different ways that you're going to have to start bringing this up because when you bring it up to us like this, it makes us feel like we're at a deficit. And
Like, we're
that's
just
not,
objects that you want to
yes,
use instead of being,
yes.
like, a
Yeah.
partner you actually care about, and that's kind of what I see is this it's like, are you making me feel safe physically also? And not just, "Oh, I know my husband would never touch me like that." No, can I be vulnerable and you not be judgmental, objectifying me just because I have something that you like doesn't mean you can grab it. Right,
Absolutely.
especially if it's one thing that, like, so a lot of men like to hit their woman's butts as they go across the kitchen, right? But if your wife has told you not to do that and you do it anyway, that
That's
is not like, you
that's a
think you are doing something good for her,
that's a
but that is for you.
violation. Yeah,
It
that's
is
a
a
violation.
violation, and
It's a
that makes
violation
her
of her
feel
body.
right?
Unsafe.
And then
Yeah.
that reduces the ability for her to be physically intimate with you, not in sex, but in the fact that, like, she cannot be vulnerable with you in those ways and let you touch and see her body the way you want to, even simply because you're not respecting her boundaries.
I also want to think about how the physical act of sex is, right? Men
Uh-huh,
are genuinely like thrusting themselves, pushing themselves on another person, and we are like women are receiving them.
uh-huh,
Why am I going to receive a man who violates my body at every turn
mhm,
because it gives him something, even though I have
mhm,
now this is all ladies, we are saying this all with the assumption that you have told your man that he does not
mhm.
that this is not something you are comfortable with. You can't just say you can't giggle every time he smacks your ass and then be like, "Oh, but I don't like it, so I'm not gonna be intimate with you." No, 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 no. We have to be having these
Or
intimate
right.
conversations first.
You also can't not do nothing or say nothing
Huh?
and think that they
Exactly.
know. And men,
Exactly.
just because she tells you she doesn't like something does not mean she's rejecting you. Put the ego
Oh my goodness,
aside
no.
and listen to her for a second.
It's not about you, it's about her. There's
Mhm.
so many other
Mhm.
things. There's so many ways that being physically violated feels that it doesn't matter who does it. It's a
Uh-huh.
sensation that we have in our body, and I truly feel like if men can sit for just a second, they're gonna understand a way that they feel the same thing, maybe not in the
Uh-huh.
not from this violation of body autonomy, but,
Uh-huh.
like, in some other way that they have been forced into something they didn't wanna be a part of.
Yes, which actually leads us to financial intimacy,
Mhm.
which I'm really excited about because a lot of men think that this is all she wants is my money, right? And so while they feel violated in that way, and so they feel like
Yeah.
they can violate as a result. And the problem is maybe we should just have a conversation instead of
Well,
assuming things.
so and have a conversation that makes sense, right? Like, so men, you have to understand it's not just your money, right? Like,
Mhm,
this is where it's a little different because the body autonomy, unless that is a discussion that you all had before you got married, right? I'm
mhm,
gonna have my money, you're gonna have your money. Never the two shall cross. That's also fine and perfect. But
mhm,
this thing of like, I have seen women use money as a way
mhm.
to violate their spouse because they're
Yeah,
angry with them. Well, I'm mad at him, so
yeah.
I'm gonna go buy me a new pair of shoes. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm gonna just I've done it. Like, oops. It was a much less healed version of me. But like
Mhm,
it's a real thing. Like, especially whenever you feel like you don't have a voice. And so it's
mhm,
I'm gonna do this petty thing, passive aggressively. And
uh-huh,
maybe that's the same thing that men are doing whenever they're smacking our ass and we don't want them to. I don't know. But these neither of these things are helpful to the
uh-huh.
intimacy and the security in a relationship.
Yeah. And I think I want to just point out that like when I say financial intimacy, guys, I want you to tell your wives your fears about money and where
Yes.
they come from and why you have them, even though you guys might like on paper look good.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we forget that we are shaped by our past. And when we don't have those conversations, it looks almost like you're obsessed with work or that that's more important. And the it's not, but you are stressing out about something and you are not being vulnerable about this, how you feel about money or how you feel about the finances. And so you are then overcompensating.
Yeah.
And your wife might also not understand. And then she's doing things that then drive that overcompensation, right? And some wives might do it on purpose, but some wives don't do it on purpose. They just don't understand why you're so scared.
Right. And vice versa. Some men
Hmm.
are not scared at all, and
Yeah.
the meanwhile, the woman is over here going, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna be destitute any second because I don't know how much money is in our account. I don't know what's going
Mhm.
on with our like. There's no. It's almost like a parental relationship with whoever
Mhm.
has who's ever in charge of the money, where there's not a
Mhm.
but there's not a conversation happening. That doesn't just
Mhm.
like I'm not great with money, so my husband is the primary in our relationship, but also, that's something that we both decide and both agree with. If I
Mhm.
if I wanted to be involved, he would have to step aside. He would have to let me be.
Yeah.
Just
And
there's
just
no bigger
knowing
or better.
it's being able to be transparent about those things and it still being respected and it not being judged. And then you guys coming up with a plan together that fits both your needs. And
Yes.
and financially, like that is really actually like people fight, right? And get divorced mostly because of the finances. And so this is an area where, guys, if you really want to feel heard and seen and loved, talk to your wife about your money fears.
Yes. Completely agree. Gosh,
Um,
yeah.
and women take them seriously.
Yeah. I don't understand where we got this idea, and I guess it's from, like, the '50s still, but, like, where this
Uh-huh.
idea of, "Well, it's his money, but I'm gonna spend it."
Uh-huh.
Why? Like, that's not
Nothing.
fair. That's not fair.
No.
This man goes out and works himself to death, so
Uh-huh.
providing for the family, and you are gonna go buy something so frivolous
Uh-huh.
without offering that same opportunity to him.
Uh-huh.
Right? It can't be one-sided.
Right. And then sometimes it becomes tit for tat, right? And then you're
So
handling
much.
resentment. And
Yes.
that does not help build connection. That actually is probably the absolute opposite. And that's how you drive each other away and
Yep.
you end up in divorce.
Yeah, this is why money is the number one cause of divorce because of
Absolutely.
these exact things. The
Yeah.
resentment that builds around nothing builds resentment like money.
Oh, yeah. But it's because you're not having the deeper conversations. And if you do have the deeper conversations, one person or the other is belittling your fears.
Yeah, because it comes off as like a control thing. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, it
No.
it is to the point of I'm terrified of this and I don't want to be destitute, right? But that's
Mhm.
the control, not controlling you, the other
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, I'm like, that's the intimate part of it, right? I'm so terrified we're going to be desolate. And then, like, that's where, like, the other partner gets curious and goes, why do you feel that way? And then you, like, dig deeper to try to figure this out. And if you can't figure it out, or if you know the fears are irrational and you just can't let it go, maybe that's when therapy steps in.
Absolutely. You know, when I met my husband, I couldn't open up my
Mhm.
banking app because I was terrified. I mean,
Mhm.
I was a single mom for 10 years, with financially, emotionally, in every way single, trying to build a career and it was nowhere close to home. So there was a lot of like expenses and not a lot of money. And
Mhm.
I would wake up some days and my bank account would be in the red, right? And
Mhm.
so then I would have to figure out how to build that up out of nothing, and so it's something that's, still caused a lot of anxiety for me when I got married to my husband, and it got to the point where I was like, "I am so sorry." Like, I had to be very it was embarrassing to be a 30-something-year-old woman and say to your husband, like, I'm really sorry, but I need to sit next to you when I open my bank account because I have this visceral reaction in my body when I do." And he would look at me and say, "But you are so safe. I've got us." And I would say, "No, I understand that, but in my mind, but my body doesn't yet." So, I
Mhm.
mean, you have to think on that, how your body is reacting and not your first response not being that is the other person is the reason.
And also just knowing, like, no fear is actually irrational. There's a reason behind all the fears you have.
Mhm.
They're all valid. And everyone needs to know that. Fear is a very valid thing in this world because life is risky. And so anytime life something is risky, you're going to have a fear associated with that risk.
Yes.
Completely normal. How paralyzing that fear is for your like overall well-being is a whole nother story.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So Joel, once you felt safe, right? So you felt safe sitting beside your husband, knowing that he was going to be there for you, knowing that he wasn't judging you for not feeling safe by yourself, and then you were able to look at it and go, "Okay, I'm good."
Mhm. Yeah, that's exactly it. So now 8 years later, I can open up my checking account, no problem. But it took a
Mhm.
long time and it took a lot of encouragement from him.
Yeah. I just that one was a really big one. I don't think we talk about it enough. I think we
No.
think when we talk about financial things in marriage, we think about, okay, how our bill's going to be split, who's going to like work more, who's going to like be the primary. We think about all these things and we don't think about the deeper things like, were you raised by a single mom who didn't always have money for the things you needed or wanted? Or
Right.
what, like, was your dad actually even in the house or was he always working because you guys didn't usually have enough money?
Yeah.
So he would just work all the time. Like, these are the things we have to actually evaluate and see. And then sometimes I'm going to say it, but when you were from different social economic classes,
Yeah.
it matters. Your money, like habits, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, values matter. And so that is something also to consider as you go into relationships with people. It's not, are they on my level? It's, hey, let me have this like really intimate financial conversation with them and it not be about how much money we make, but how we feel about money, how we feel about spending, how we feel about, what's important.
Yes, because remember, we're all chasing dopamine when we're unhappy, and you
Hmm.
really need to find out how your partner gets that dopamine. Is
Yeah.
it through sex? Is it through shopping? Is it through eating? Is it through
Mhm.
you need to be curious about that because that's going to be something that comes up in your relationship really, really.
And then the other part I just want to say is like, I need people to understand that you are not going to change the person you're married to. Like,
Please don't.
life circumstances aren't going to cause the change. The change has to come from within. You have to want to be different in order for different to happen.
Well, that's
And if one person's more like and not flexible, who you see is who you marry.
because
For
that's
what?
it, and that is just true. You're not going to change that person, but what you can ask them to do is show up in a way that meets your needs in the relationship. And that's what we're
Mhm.
talking about, right? We're not saying like
Yeah.
if your partner seeks, dopamine in times of pain or sadness by getting online and shopping,
Uh-huh.
then and that's something that you struggle with. You need to tell them like that's actually really disruptive to our relationship. And
Uh-huh.
I need to understand how to show up for you better so that when you are feeling these, you know, really negative emotions that I can be a
Mhm.
source for you to feel comfortable, safe, happy, all those things. Not draining our bank account because that
Uh-huh.
insight that actually makes me very fearful. And so
Uh-huh.
then when I'm going to start seeking dopamine and I'm going to start looking at you as an object, or however this
Mhm.
goes, right? Like, so that you are an object,
Mhm.
just like that online shopping cart that then gives me the
Mhm.
dopamine that I'm looking for. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to feel either of those ways in a relationship.
Reaching for deeper, intimate connection
Mhm.
should really be the direction we're going in. And we should really talk about more than just likes and dislikes and what's your favorite restaurant and how much
Oh,
money do you make. It should really be like, how'd you get there? How'd you make those decisions? And can you tell me? Which leads into intellectual intimacy. Intellectual intimacy is partly driven by that curiosity, right? I am a self proclaimed nerd. I like watching documentaries about whatever. That's just who I am. And I'm happy about that. And like, if my husband didn't like that about me or he like judged me every time I brought something up that was nerdy, I think it would be pretty darn hard for me to like trust him.
absolutely. Absolutely. This is a person that you should the level of intimacy of just from living with someone is insane,
Mhm.
right? But then
Mhm.
engaging in the way that they
Mhm.
live, because you should be spending a lot of time in your home with your spouse, like, or with the
Mhm.
person you're living with if it's an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
And you
you?
should be. You should be sharing
Yes.
ideas and opinions and having stimulating conversations, and we should
Yes.
be talking about political shit.
Yeah, we
Yes,
really should.
by the
We
way. It needed to be
Only
said.
politics can get you so heated. But that's the thing is that we don't and we so often actually, my daughter did this to my husband yesterday. She was talking about, she's 18, so we'll take it.
Mhm,
It's fine. She's gonna grow out of it. But the thing was, my husband's an immigrant, right? And so she was
mhm,
talking about the stuff in
mhm,
in Minnesota. Is that where they're
mhm,
at? Where are they at? Yeah. My husband said, I'll talk to you about that." And she goes, "No, I don't even want to talk with you about that because I already know where you stand." Right. And so sometimes that
mhm,
can be and he was like, "You actually don't know where I stand." But
mhm,
that's the thing that we can also do to our spouses where it's like,
mhm,
my husband and I don't politically align in every way socially. We do more
mhm.
fiscally, but not socially. And mostly because he doesn't see the difference in those two things. But that's okay. That's okay. He can have that. That's his prerogative because it's politics, it's religion, it's whatever. There is no one right way. So you have to be able to have these conversations with curiosity and intent to
Mhm,
understand, not intent to push your own agenda.
mhm.
Because you should love the person that you
Yes.
married. You should love the person
Mhm.
that you got in relationship with. Why are
And
you trying to change them?
if they have beliefs that are fundamentally against you or something you believe, guess what? That relationship probably shouldn't exist.
Absolutely. Should not have gotten into it in the first place.
Right? If you guys believe differently on some of the most basic issues, right? Like abortion or same-sex marriage, unless you completely understand how that person got to that conclusion, which is the like intellectual intimacy part of the conversation, and you agree that like, oh, their logic is actually logically, even if they got to a conclusion I don't like,
Yeah,
right? Like, that's okay. But if it's like, no, they're completely being irrational and illogical and that makes no sense whatsoever, then maybe you shouldn't be in that relationship with that person.
agreed. Completely agree. Now, I do have some clients who have been together with their spouses for 20 years, and
Mhm,
unfortunately, what has happened is that they've really grown apart. And
mhm,
it's not it's obviously it's a lack of all these things that we're talking about, but now they're at the point where they are not the people that they married, and they are on
uh-huh,
very opposite sides politically and morally, and these different, like, even just in a society of like raising our kids, like, where one wants to raise the children in a very gentle parent sort of way, and the other
mhm,
parent wants to raise
mhm,
it more in a, I've lost my word. The style of parenting that's healthy.
mhm,
The
uh-huh. Instead of it
authoritative.
being like free, I think I use the word free range versus like structure, maybe.
Yeah,
And I
there you
think that's a
go.
better way to put it because I don't think
Yeah.
gentle parenting is what people think it is. I think it actually is completely different. And we're just calling it that because that's the best label. But I really think it's free range.
I was gonna say, I've seen like a form of this work as far
Mhm,
as like, but both, it's because they've taken bits and pieces of from that type of, that free range gentle
mhm.
ish, and then put it in with a little bit of structure, right? And so
Yeah,
that's why,
which
but
is what
both parents,
is needed.
right, both parents were on board with it. There's been a lot of discussion about it
Mhm,
together. And
mhm.
that's not, I don't see that across the board,
No,
unfortunately.
not at all. And also, I know it's not as heavily pushed nowadays, but like, guys, your kids can show emotions. Like, they're not little adults. They're
Right.
literally just trying to figure out how to be human. So
That's
if they're
yes.
crying, maybe let's figure out why. And if they're behaving badly, let's ask them. Don't just assume they're being disrespectful.
Don't ever, what I can't stand is the idea that so many adults seem to adhere to, which is, my kid's just trying to make me upset. My kid's just
Mhm,
trying to. This is a human who genuinely looks for you in every piece of their day because you
mhm,
are the most important person in their world.
mhm,
Why on earth would they be intentionally doing any action to make you
mhm.
upset? That's never their goal.
Unless you maybe need to get a little curious about your own behavior.
But that's what I mean, like, they're screaming to be heard. They're
Mhm,
screaming to be seen by you. They're screaming, but it's never about hurting you.
mhm,
It's about getting your attention, your
mhm.
love, your, like, it's never about being mean to you with the intention of hurting you. That comes later,
Mhm.
not when they're little.
No.
That comes when they're.
Like, save that for their teenage years,
Yep,
please.
because it's coming.
Yeah.
But even still, you are very important to them. So they're still trying to express that, but they're also, trying to hurt your feelings.
I say it as in, like, they're trying to figure out how to have autonomy in situations where they can't have full autonomy, right? So, like, you want to be able to give them some, like, level of, like, you're in control of your life without actually letting go of the reins. But they want you to let go of the reins not knowing that they're not ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. No. There's a lot of
Yeah.
parenting stuff we can cover or we can recommend, like, but parenting is really not being done great out there, so we need to get better at it.
I think it's just hard.
Mhm.
And part of that is because we lack so much intimacy in our like relationship with our partner, right? Our
Yes.
kids don't even know what it looks like to have a actual relationship with us.
Right. We fear intimacy with our kids. We fear being able
Uh-huh.
to say, "I was wrong. I'm sorry." We
Mhm.
fear being able to say, "I don't understand you and I really want to, even if the reason that you're hurting right now is me." No
Uh-huh.
parents don't want to do that.
No. Again, set the ego aside, please.
Mhm.
Um And then to finish this out, I just want to talk about spiritual intimacy for a second
Yeah.
because I really think spirituality is more than just religion, right? Like, and I want people to really truly understand that. It's more than just religion. Spirituality is that peace. Like, it. What gives you butterflies on the inside, right? What about life makes you happy
Yeah.
and like makes you excited and gets you butterflies? Like that is part of spirituality. It's those feelings that you are experiencing in that moment that is spirituality. It's how do
Mhm.
I feel connected, not just to this person beside me, not just to my family, but like the world as a whole around me. So
Mhm.
I often tell people to like take walks in nature. If you need, like, just clear your mind. Don't listen to music. Don't listen to a podcast. Just take a walk in nature and listen to the sounds around you.
Mhm.
That's why so many
Absolutely.
people like the beach, right? Because they love the sound of the ocean. They love feeling that. And it makes them feel calm and soothed. And it feels just really good. That is spirituality.
Yeah. And yes, and other people can see spirituality as a religion that has a lot of
Mhm,
structure, a lot of rules, a lot of so if
mhm,
you are a person who has this idea of spirituality where you engage with the world around you and you love what has been created for you to live in, and the other and your partner is someone who gains spirituality through structure and church, and
mhm,
you guys, you're not gonna do great.
mm-mm. No.
There's a lot of rules in one and no rules in the
Mhm,
other. So you're
mhm,
gonna feel one of you is gonna feel really caged in, and the other is gonna feel
mhm,
really, um, I don't know how to say, like, the other's gonna feel really, disregarded because part of
mhm,
this, part of so many religions is showing up and doing a lot of ritualistic things, and to not do that
mhm,
with your partner can be really damaging to the person,
mhm,
right? And the person's spiritual so being spiritually intimate means sharing being with
mhm.
someone who can share your eh, a version of your spirituality. Like, my husband and I differ a little, but not to the point where it would
Mhm.
structurally damage us.
Yeah. And it's also being curious about how they got there. Again,
Absolutely.
this is one of those situations that, like, sometimes if you can follow your partner's logic through how they got to where they are, even though you guys end up in different places, but you'll respect where they are based on how they got there, then the relationship might actually be okay. But that also is another like conversation on like, well, what does this look like for us going through our relationship? Like, if we have
Yeah.
kids, what does this look like? This other stuff. And so it's one of those things where, like, yeah, but get curious also. If someone believes a certain way, get curious. Don't just say, I'm like trying to pull out something that I've heard someone say about Christians. And it's like, you believe because your parents made you or something like that,
Uh,
right? And
yeah.
it's like, maybe listen to what they actually have to say and respect them as they're telling you, and then try to understand from their
Yeah,
perspective, even if you
I'm gonna
don't agree.
absolutely. I'm gonna air some of my parents' business right here, but I don't think they'll mind, and I don't even know if they listen, so they may never know. But when my parents got married, my dad was a Methodist, my mom was a Lutheran. Both of these are under the umbrella of the Christian faith. My dad converted to Lutheranism because that was a request that my mom had. Thing was, is that was a story that I got told that was like, "Wow, look at what
Mhm.
my dad did." But it really wasn't. The only thing that was different was the doctrine. My dad grew up going to church on Sundays, just like my mom. My dad
Mhm.
grew up in a Christian family, just like my mom. These were things that
Mhm.
they had already aligned on. The doctrine was just a little different. So now he merged the doctrine to where, and he genuinely did, after being more engaged with the Lutheran faith, he did feel that he aligned more with the doctrine than he did with the
Mhm.
Methodist. So that was great. But here's the thing. That's a great story, but that doesn't mean that if I'm walking out of that family as a Christian, I cannot then engage with an atheist
Mhm.
because those are too far off. That's not this story that has been building up in my mind since I was a young girl of, well, if he loves me, he'll convert for me. It's
Mhm.
very different asking that of an atheist and asking that of a Methodist,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean. It's like, are you trying to convert someone? Or are you trying to just hear their
That
point of view? Are you trying to understand them as who they are in front of you? Not who
and
you want them to be, but
Not
who they
who you want
actually
them
are.
to be, that part. That part. I can change him, I can convert him, he can be everything I need, I can see it all in him, he's just not there yet. No, no, bitch, walk
Mhm.
away. Don't try
Mhm.
that, that's rude. You don't
Mhm.
change that structure of a human. You just don't.
But, like, the other part of it is, like, you never know if it's really gonna be genuine, so, like, do you
Yeah,
really want to be in a relationship with someone who's just putting on a mask?
right. Great. That is a great quote to just, like, mic drop and end this whole fucking episode with. Boom.
I agree. But I feel like that's what intimacy helps you not do.
Mhm.
It pulls the mask off and it allows you to show your authentic self to your partner, right? And like this is how you rekindle long-term relationships. You might not do all of these things and talk about all these things all at once, but you will go through and you'll go, "Okay, well, who are you now?" Like we've grown apart, but who are you now? Like emotionally and physically and mentally and intellectually and spiritually and financially. Like what are your fears? What are your hopes? What are your dreams? Who are you? Who am I looking at?
Mm,
Mask off.
chef's kiss, well said. I love that.
I'm like, join us next time. Well, we will probably dive deeper into some of this.
Absolutely. There's so much more to cover here that goes to so that if we're gonna be encouraging all of you to go deeper, we need to show what that looks like.
Mhm. For sure. And maybe we can do it for each other so that we can like actually show, right?
I
How
love
this
that.
looks, even in like a friendship versus a romantic relationship. But like,
Absolutely.
I'm masked off with my friends. So y'all know how weird I
You are unapologetically yourself, and I appreciate that
am.
very much. Yes. Feels
So
very
yeah,
safe. Yes.
I'm glad. Listen, we'll touch base though, and we'll do this again. And we'll just
Yeah.
dive deeper and
We'll
help
just
you
dive deeper.
understand really what it looks like.
Yes. If you have any questions and you'd like to reach out to us, there's 2 different ways. One is our Facebook group.
Inside the Therapy Room, Unpacking Mental Health is the name of the Facebook group. If you see our podcast logo, that's the logo you're looking for the Facebook group.
Yeah. The other is unpackingmentalhealth@gmail.com, where you can reach us more without being, exposed to the entire group. You're more than welcome to. We love people reaching out that way. We'd love to talk about anything that, especially with physical intimacy that may be or physical, with intimacy that we haven't talked about today, but you'd like to hear something more in depth about it or have us touch on it. We would, or have a question. I mean, we could Dear Abby this too. I don't mind. Like, let's
Um,
but yeah, engage with us. We definitely want to continue to grow this in a way that makes the most sense for the people who are listening.
for sure.
Yeah. Until next time, join us for another honest conversation from inside the therapy room. Until then, breathe, reflect, and take one gentle step forward.